Hello, Red Wave. Ooh, man, a little choppy there. Welcome to Where Bulldogs podcast. My name is Caleb Nale. Today, we get to know the New Mexico Lobos, and joining me is Robert Portnoy. Rob, thank you so much for joining me. Tell everyone a little bit about what you do for the Lobos.
I'm sure your fans know Paul Leffler. I'm kind of the Paul Leffler of the Lobos. Paul and I are a rare breed in that we get to do all three of the primary sports at our respective universities, and I wouldn't have it any other way. It's awesome, man. Thanks for having me, Caleb.
Of course, my pleasure. That's amazing. I can't believe that Paul does it, and now you're out here doing it as well. Talk to me a little bit about that. What does it take to do all three of those big sports?
No, it's the best. November is my number one month of the year because it's the football basketball overlap. And then I love February and March too, because those are the overlap between basketball and baseball. I wouldn't have it any other way. I was a minor league baseball broadcaster for a long time, and when the Lobos asked me to be their guy, I said, as long as I get to do baseball. I mean, it was something that I wasn't going to give up, and I absolutely love all three sports. And it's my dream job. It really is.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, do you have just so many miles points that
Certainly those build up. We'll typically use them once a year for a little trip for the fam or something like that. One year, I'm a big Phil Mickelson fan. One year I used the points to go watch him play the final round at Kiowa Island when he won the PGA championship. So yeah, those come in handy sometimes.
That's awesome. I love it. Golf fan then?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And a golfer too. I love to play.
I'm just starting to get into it. So I might
sport for a lifetime, man. You're going to love it. You're going to love it.
I'm going to be calling you for tips, texting you. So
anytime.
All right. Well, let's talk about this New Mexico Lobos football team. What is the overall feeling in Albuquerque right now around this team?
What if? What could have been? It's been a complete transformation on the offensive side of the ball, Caleb. But to have the worst offense in the country the last 2 years, literally for total yards, and to be a team that's averaging around 400 yards per game in total offense this year is a huge leap. The offensive coordinator Bryant Vincent has completely overhauled the scheme. The personnel has been upgraded in a way that you couldn't imagine happening. I guess only in the transfer portal world can you see it happening, where it can change so dramatically from one year to the next. Unfortunately, the defense has taken a little bit of a step back this season. That's fair to say, which has been a disappointment because complimentary football is what it's all about, right? You hear coaches say that all the time. And then, interestingly enough, special teams has been a strength of the Lobos for a long time, and is something that Coach Gonzalez really, holds close to his heart, and unfortunately that's been a bugaboo this year, and the Lobos were forced to make a change at that coordinator position. And so the result is a lot of big plays, a lot of field flipping type of sudden change things on special teams that have put New Mexico behind the eight ball. And it's easy, right? The ifs and buts are really easy. But the Lobos at the end of the day only have 3 wins, and it's been a season full of promise, but also a season with disappointment as well.
Okay. I mean, just from the outside looking in, you can see things are trying to be changed within the program, and they're working through some things. So it's interesting to get the insider perspective on what exactly is going on. And you hate to hear it too, that there's people lose their jobs and things like that, but
never easy.
Yeah. And I want the best for Mountain West teams, all Mountain West teams. And it sounds like I saw this morning we might get 2 more teams to play next year. Did you see that?
Yeah, that would be nice. Scheduling alliance for a couple of years with the remaining teams from the Pac-12. That's awesome. It's such a great brand, and it's been a great league for so long. And I, for one, was crestfallen to see it disintegrate the way that it did. But yeah, the Mountain West teams being able to play Oregon State and Washington State would be huge.
Mm-hmm. Now, how do you think the New Mexico fan base? Let me put it like this: What do you think this team needs to do to get the Mexico fan base back in their seats?
Win. Yeah, I really do. I mean, it seems too simple, but from a marketing standpoint, the university, I think, has reinvested in the football program in a way that I haven't seen probably over the last decade, which is awesome. And they have a coach whose roots are so New Mexico, you couldn't have a better scenario. I mean, he grew up in Albuquerque. He went to Valley High School. He played at New Mexico. He cut his teeth as an assistant at UNM under Coach Long, had success with Coach Long at San Diego State, and then, remade the defense at Arizona State. Like, he was so ready for this position. And now he is in year 4, and the Lobos haven't had as much success as he would like, as the university would like, as the community would like, as the state would like. I mean, it's just better for New Mexico if Lobo football is humming, and it hasn't really since the mid 2000s. And I think that it's set up for a scenario where if the Lobos could string some wins together, this is really a coach and a program and the family atmosphere that he's created around New Mexico football that the fans could get behind and embrace. But it's hard. The Lobos haven't had more than 3 wins in a season since 2016. And unfortunately, it's kind of a wait and see attitude. Until you show me something, I'm not going to show up. And that's harsh. It's reality. I mean, you'd love to see the community, completely wrap their arms around it and help bring it to the level that everybody wants it. But they want to see some signs of life first. And you have to understand that.
Yeah. I was going to say it's understandable. Yeah. One thing I didn't warn you of, Rob, I'm going to get to team strengths in a second, because we're going to talk all the positives about this team and the football game coming up on Saturday. But I do need to read some of our sponsors. So
you got to pay the bills.
Exactly. A big shout out to Givli Winery, local winery here in Fresno, located on Biola Avenue, just north of Shaw. Check them out on Saturdays and Sundays, noon to 5, or on weekdays by appointment only. Local winemaker, local family, local grapes, parties on the weekend. And by the way, brick oven wood fire pizza, not gas, on the weekends as well. So check them out. And just a reminder, December 10th, put it in your calendars. We're playing bucket golf at Givli Winery. So thank you to them. More info to come. Also, Manage X, full-service property management company that services single-family, small multifamily, office, and industrial properties. They've been in business in Fresno since 1978 and are huge supporters of Fresno State athletics. If you need any property management services, please check out their website, managex.net. That's manage, the letter X.net. All right, Rob. This year has, you talked about the struggles on offense and rebuilding the defense, but where are the team strengths on this team? Is it a player? Is it a unit? What can the Fresno State fans look out for on Saturday?
It starts with the quarterback position. The Lobos haven't had quarterback play in Albuquerque like this probably in, easily since 2009. We're talking about Donovan Portery and a 2,000-yard passer, just 2 years removed from when the Lobos destroyed Nevada and Colin Kaepernick in the New Mexico Bowl in 2007. Portery was a great dual threat quarterback with a terrific arm who could absolutely sling it and could run as well. And the quarterback play this year has been phenomenal, Caleb. It starts with a 6th-year senior, Dylan Hopkins, who's just done everything. He's accomplished everything in college football. It's pretty amazing that we're talking about a guy who's a multi-year starter at another, major Division I college, won back-to-back bowl games, and they make a coaching change. And obviously those coaches are going to look at everybody and evaluate everybody, decide how to move forward from there. And rather than stay at UAB with Trent Dilfer, he decides, I'm going to go with my offensive coordinator, who was my interim head coach in my final season at UAB, and try to rebuild a program, like I said, that hasn't won more than 3 games since 2016, and do that for my last year in college football. I mean, not many guys make that choice. He did that. He's not used to losing, and I'm sure that part of it's been difficult for him, but he's amazing. You tell me, after you watch his throwing motion, the way his back leg comes up and the way he scans the field and the way he uses his eyes to look safeties off and the things that he does as a quarterback, you tell me if it doesn't look a little bit like Peyton Manning after you watch this game on Saturday.
I watched him play last year. Sorry.
Okay, so there you go. And that's what I see. And that's how good he is when he's good. He had the worst half of his college career, unfortunately, in a Lobo game this season, in a week where New Mexico really thought that it could win in a pickup game on the road against Nevada, which was really damaging. But other than that, he's been ultra consistent, and there's nobody that you'd rather go to battle with than that guy. He's a 200-yard per game like metronome, basically. If given the opportunity to throw the ball, if the game plan allows that, he is on point. His accuracy is tremendous. His arm strength is outstanding. And the way he diagnoses is as good as I've seen as a broadcaster in 11 years that I've been doing it with the Lobos. And then New Mexico can bring a true freshman off the bench who got a start last week because Dylan had a nasty case of strep throat and didn't even make the trip. He didn't practice the entire week. And Devin Dampier played an amazing game in his first college start last weekend in the worst possible circumstances that you could have in the Mountain West, when there are more than 30,000 at the Blue. And he handled it like he was a savvy veteran. It was really impressive. He really only showed nerves in the first possession when he dropped a snap on the second down play and shifted a protection the wrong way on the third down play, and the Lobos went 3 and out. After that, he marched him down twice for touchdowns. He would have marched him for a third straight touchdown if it weren't for a fumble inside the 10. You're going to like them both, Caleb. That's definitely the strength right now. That's where it starts for New Mexico.
Well, that's exciting to have. It's always exciting to have a good quarterback on your team. That's kind of the heartbeat of the offense and almost the football team, you could say. What about defensively? By the way, I'm excited to watch this the quarterbacks, but we give up a lot of points recently, so it makes me a little nervous to hear that your quarterback's doing well, throwing for 200 yards. Real quick, how's Dylan doing? Is he better now? Is he going to be?
He's fine. He's practiced all week and he's ready to go. He's going to start.
Okay, well, good to know. Defensively, what are some names we should keep an eye on?
So hopefully he can give the Lobos a full game. He's dealing with a bunch of stuff. It probably starts with a knee injury that he's been fighting through. He's had to have it drained multiple times. He's not able to practice a ton, but it starts with Alec Marenko, the Lobos middle linebacker in the 3-3-5. If he's right, you can't miss 18. He's all over the place. Unfortunately, Coach Gonzalez told us he was only able to play about 17 snaps last week, which is unfortunate. But if he plays, look out for 18. The guy that I would be telling you is the best player on the defense, and to keep an eye on him all the time is the guy who started the year at the most important position in the Lobos 3-3-5, the Lobo safety, the middle of the back line. His name is Tavian Combs. He's number 7. But he hasn't played in a few games, and he's been dealing with a knee issue of his own, and it does not look like he's going to play this weekend. So that is still a position that stands out and becomes a very important one in the defense, and it's number 11. It's a true freshman. It's Derek Moore. He will, if you guys run the ball, he will finish with between 8 and 15 tackles in this game. He flies around. He's terrific in run support. There's just obviously freshman issues when he's in coverage, and it's that way with any freshman, right? So keep an eye on that, and it still remains an issue. It's something that's been a bugaboo for the Lobos since the beginning of the year, and that's the big play. And it happened again last weekend. A blown coverage and a 75-yard touchdown where a guy was running free on a post and completely uncovered, and two guys are running for a receiver on the boundary. So those kinds of communication things happen when you have young people back there, and it's not just one guy. So it's not fair to single out anybody. It's certainly not Derek Moore. The Wolf safeties have had their issues, and the corners have been beaten as well. But they're all very capable. They're all outstanding athletes, and they're all really good football players. But it moves fast, and processing is tough on the back end of the defense as well. One thing to note, number 8, Dante Martin, he's the Lobos corner. He's in his final year of eligibility, and he's one pass breakup away from tying Glover Quinn for the all-time record at the University of New Mexico in PBUs. Obviously, Glover Quinn was an all-pro in the NFL and had a decade-long career in the league. And actually, his nephew is also on the back line of the Lobos defense, number 5, Jamarius Lewis, who plays a lot at one of the Wolf safety positions. So a lot of connections there. But, 2 pass breakups, and Dante is number 1 all-time in Lobo history.
All right. Wow. Well, good luck to him. Maybe he'll break it next game. How about that? No. Now, where would you key in on the weaknesses? So offensive, it sounds like the lack of communication, or I shouldn't say that, the lack of experience on the defense is probably the weakness. Okay. On the defensive side. What about the offensive side? Where do you think the weaknesses come in?
Wow. So really, in a season where the offense has, like I mentioned right at the outset, been a revelation, they have not turned the ball over a lot. They have protected the quarterback really well. But the turnovers that they have had have been really damaging, and the timing of them. And Coach Gonzalez talks about the margin for error being really thin for the Lobos. In other words, an Alabama can make mistakes and overcome them. When the Lobos make them and they come at the wrong time, and it's very difficult for New Mexico to overcome those. Case in point, last week, the Lobos are driving down late second quarter with a chance to make it a 1-score game in Boise. I mentioned it earlier, actually. It would have been the 3rd consecutive touchdown drive that Devin Dampier, the true freshman quarterback, was going to engineer. New Mexico got to a 1st and goal at the 6. There was a negative play that created an issue. They ended up getting it back with a penalty. They were 2nd and goal at the 7. And Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, who is a player to watch on offense, if he does not look like an NFL back to you when you see him, I would be surprised if you told me anything different. He runs with a ferocity that is fun to watch. His ability to make jump cuts in the hole, it's spectacular. 3rd and short last week, there were 2 guys in the hole with an opportunity to get him on the ground, and he undressed both of them and had them grasping at air, and picked up the first down. It's the 2nd time this season that he has had a fumble come at a time that was just the worst possible. It was right, like I said, right at the end of the first half, 2nd and goal to 7. He puts it on the ground. They recovered. Instead of they were not going to stop New Mexico. The Lobos scored a touchdown there. They hadn't stopped them from most of the first half. The only thing that stopped the Lobos in the first half was the nervousness at the beginning of the game that Dampier had in his first start. 30+ thousand screaming their heads off. They do a great job. The fans do a great job in Boise, and the Lobos are prepared for that in Fresno again. But yeah, that fumble was a 10-point swing, because instead of the Lobos scoring a touchdown, being down by 8 going into break, Boise marched it down the other end. They get a field goal. And then, Boise scored on his first possession of the second half. after the Lobos couldn't move the ball with the opening kickoff of the second half. And now suddenly you're down 25. And it's like, oh my gosh, that's what happens. That's what has happened. And they're not excuses. They're just realities. Like this is what good teams don't make those kinds of mistakes. The Lobos are a good team in stretches, but they have not been a good team for 60 minutes often enough to be a good team this year.
Right. Well, we got a lot to watch out for on Saturday then. I would love to see the Lobos put together 60 minutes because I like to play against the best. And as a competitor, I'm bummed that there's some guys that are going to be missing this game, but it'd be fun to see New Mexico at their best playing against Fresno at their best. It would be a fun game. And hopefully that happens. It still can happen. I'm going to get to where you see the game going and where teams can take advantage of each other, or in a sec. I do need to mention Eastie's Woodshop. Eastie's Woodshop is your custom woodworking, or they have all your custom woodworking and home decor needs. The holiday season is coming up. Let them bring your ideas to life. Check out shopew.store to send them a message and to see their line of personalized gifts this holiday season. Use code BEWARE for 15% off your first purchase. That's shopew.store. Check out all their custom woodworking and home decor line and message them if you would like to get anything personalized this holiday season. Code BEWARE for 15% off your first purchase. Also, Flora Flower Co. It's a local flower shop that's modern, unique. It's one-stop shop for gifts. Store hours Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Shepherd and Willow. And if you go in there, there's going to be a florist waiting for you to help you create something special because, guys, if you're like me, there's a lack of creativity there, and I need help. So there's going to be a florist there waiting for you to help you create something special. Use code Fresno15 for 15% off. That's Fresno, the number 15 for 15% off. That's in-store and online. Thank you to Flora Flower Co. and Eastie's Woodshop for your support. All right, Rob. The Lobos win Saturday. What did they do correctly to win this game?
It starts with turning it over. They can't do that. It almost is cliche in coach speak, but they cannot do that. New Mexico's defense is predicated on takeaways, and that's something that they've struggled to do, unfortunately. While the offense hasn't turned it over a lot, they've given it up in key spots occasionally. And Dylan Hopkins had the only 3-interception game of his career, which was very costly. I mentioned it earlier. And in fact, just the second multi-interception game of his career. He'd only had one other where he had as many as 2. It was such an outlier. And it just happened to be in Mountain West play and probably cost the Lobos a game. He would acknowledge that. The New Mexico defense has to take the ball away a couple of times in this game. And they've got to get some pressure on the quarterback, whoever it is, for Fresno this weekend, because that's been a problem. And it's such a big part of the 3-3-5. Coach Gonzalez loves to play man coverage that puts pressure on the back end of the defense, and it doesn't work if you're not getting pressure on the quarterback. And the Lobos haven't done it enough. And when they've gotten the pressure, they haven't gotten good, strong, athletic, mobile quarterbacks on the ground often enough. That's been an issue. They get 2 arms on him, and they can't get him down, and he gets out, and a big play happens, or a first down scramble, or a dump down that turns into a catch and run for a first down, or a big play, or something like that. So those are keys. Obviously, you guys love to throw the ball. Fresno State loves to throw the ball, and you're really good at it. And while at times New Mexico has been good against the pass, it's also been an Achilles heel, and especially the big play. And gosh, stay away from the big play early in the game. That's been another thing, that sort of spirit-breaking big play in a spot when you feel like you're right in the game. that gives you the feeling of, oh no, here we go again. Stay away from that if you're New Mexico. Get yourself to the fourth quarter on the road in a tough environment. You've got an experienced quarterback that will not be fazed by anything, and you've got a chance to win a game.
Mm-hmm. Very true. I growing up and playing sports, we always talk about, Fresno should be, I haven't looked at the line, we're pretty favored in this game, but you leave a team like New Mexico around until the fourth quarter, and all of a sudden this team has hope, they have confidence, and you never know what can happen in the fourth quarter. So it's a good point. You want to stick around and make sure you're there at the end of the game. One, because I'm a Fresno fan and I want to see butts in the seats, but two, for New Mexico to, have some confidence going into that last quarter or the last two drives. Now, I'm going to turn the tables on you a little bit. Fresno State wins this game on Saturday. What do you say Fresno did or New Mexico didn't do to win/lose this game?
You look at what the offense for Fresno State has done this year, and it's surprisingly unbalanced, I guess, is what you would say. It just statistically, right? I think that they're going to run the ball a little bit against the Lobos. You would think the Lobos have struggled in that department this year for whatever reason, and that's typically not the case. Like usually, this defense, whether originally under Coach Long, now under Coach Gonzalez, it's predicated on stopping the run, stoning the run, and turning you into a one-dimensional team. But that hasn't always been good for New Mexico this year because of the issues that they've had in the past game. So it'll be really interesting how much game planning is done for this particular matchup and what that looks like. The New Mexico defense it's renowned for having a lot of tricks in its bag. I mean, crazy stuff. If you went back and looked at the tape against Hawaii, you would see an alignment that you'd just be like, what? Literally 2 rush ends with their hands on the ground, positioned outside the tackles, and nobody else in either a 3 or a 4-point stance at all. And what you have is 4 other guys intermittently walking up to the line of scrimmage and stepping back from the line of scrimmage, creating havoc for a pass-happy Hawaii offense that's going to throw it 40 times on average. That's what they do. And it makes it difficult for the opposing quarterback to diagnose where the rushers are coming from. And sometimes, even if you're only rushing 4 or 5, because you've got linemen and backs and tight ends looking around trying to find who to block, somebody comes free. You get a free rusher, sometimes through an A gap or a B gap that shouldn't happen, but because they're not lined up where you expect them to be, you can't find them. So they create havoc that way. I have no idea what they have in store for Fresno this week. But this team was able to do that to Jake Haener in 2020 during the pandemic when the Lobos beat the Bulldogs at the end of the year, when they were playing their home games in Vegas. They completely befuddled Carson Strong when he was at the peak of his powers at Nevada, and Nevada somehow figured out how to win a game against the Lobos in that same season. And Coach Gonzalez told me after the game, Carson Strong came up to him at midfield and said, I had no idea what you guys were doing. That was crazy. So, yeah, whether it's Keene or whether it's Fife or what you guys do, New Mexico's defense always has some tricks up its sleeve. But again, if you don't get to the quarterback, it doesn't matter. And the Lobos just haven't been able to do it enough this year, and they've not been able to get the quarterback on the ground.
All right. Well, we just had our left tackle go down for the season. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with our O-line. They move things around, and what you guys do to exploit that and what Fresno State does to stop it. It It's gonna be a fun chess match.
Along those same lines, Caleb, New Mexico starting right tackle for every game of the season, for personal reasons, left the program before last weekend's game. Family reasons. There's a family funeral, and he won't be available this weekend either. So there's, while it's not the blind side, you know how important those edge rushers are, and the tackles are huge. So exactly the same kind of scenario.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. A lot happening then this weekend. I have a couple fun questions for you. So, and then I'll get you out of here real quick. I got to thank the Vine Church in Fresno. The Vine Church is here to help you find strengthen your community, find a support group. If you need prayer, the Vine Church meets on Sundays at 10 a.m. on Shaw, just west of Grantland. My wife and I have been attending for about a year now, and the community there is so kind, welcoming. The pastor speaks biblical truth. If you're interested in any of those things or just want to get to know Jesus, let me know. I attend. I can meet you there, or you can attend prayer nights on Thursdays or Sundays at 10 a.m. At the Vine Church on Shaw, just west of Grantland. So thank you to the Vine for supporting Beware of Bulldogs podcast. Well, Rob, you've been doing this for 11 years, and you really know your stuff. But what is your favorite thing about Albuquerque and covering in the surrounding area?
Oh, my gosh. I've lived in Albuquerque now 17 years. So before I started with the Lobos, I worked across the street with the Isotopes. I was the play-by-play broadcaster for the AAA baseball team. There's so much to do here. I think it's a hidden gem, really. And maybe people in Albuquerque like it that way because it doesn't take more than 15 or 20 minutes to get anywhere you want to go, which is fantastic. The mountain is amazing. You can literally, in a ski season, if the snow is good, I can get to the base of the Sandia Peak Tramway in literally 6 minutes from my house, ride up the tramway, and then ski down the backside of the mountain and ski all day and do the same, coming back up. And it's amazing. They're wonderful things to do. And the food is incredible. I mean, that's probably, it starts with the green chili, which is native to Hatch, New Mexico. And it's world famous. And, I've got a little jar of my favorite salsa from one of our outstanding New Mexican restaurants here in Albuquerque, El Pinto, that I'll be bringing to Paul Leffler this weekend because you just can't get it anywhere else. There's nothing like it.
Oh, I've never been. I need to make it over there and catch a game and check out the town because I've only heard good things.
No, you'll love it. You'll absolutely love it. Yeah, come and see us.
All right, the last question I have, and you got to have to be careful with this one. My co-host, his name is Caleb as well. We call ourselves a CNC Football Factory based off of, the CNC Music Factory. And we have a segment called Everybody Dance Now, like their popular song. So I'm going to ask you the same question that we ask ourselves. What is going to make you dance? But be careful because if it hits and it's something ridiculous, like for me, the past year and a half has been a kickoff return because it's been since 2008 since we've had a kickoff return for a touchdown. Finally did it, and I had to dance. So if it hits, I'm sure I'm going to be coming your way for a dance video. So just be careful.
Oh, man. Well, I'll make something up. Should the Lobos pull off an upset in Fresno, which hasn't happened in forever, I'll throw on a little celebration by Kool and the Gang, and I won't be sending you the video.
Okay. Well, Ron, I really appreciate your time and all the insight into Lobos football. I'm really excited for Saturday. And if you need anything while you're out in Fresno, let me know. Or in the stadium, I'll run and grab it for you. I'm happy to do that. So just thank you so much for coming on.
Great being with you, Caleb. Thanks for having me.